Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. There's a request to come forward, inshallah. See, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallimu ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was taken by his beloved wife Sayyidah Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha to her cousin Waraqa ibn Nawfal, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam narrated to Waraqa the entire episode and incident regarding the coming of Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam. When Waraqa heard this from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, then, as mentioned previously, that he immediately said that this angel which has come to you, this is none other than the angel which came to Musa alayhi salatu wassalam. And he basically understood the incident and understood the situation at hand, that this individual, my cousin's husband, has been blessed with prophethood and he is a final prophet. As it has been mentioned previously, that he was learned, he had read the scriptures, and he was waiting, according to other riwayat we understand, that he was actually waiting for the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sayyidah Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha, according to certain narrations, actually mentions certain things regarding the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam to him previously, even before this actual incident took place. And when he heard this, then he said that it seems as if this may be the Nabi, and he kept on waiting. And there are certain ash'ar and words of poetry also attributed to him in regards to this, where he says that لججت وكنت في الذكرى لجوجا لهم طالما بعث النشيجا ووصف من خديجة بعد وصف فقد طالت انتظاري يا خديجة بمتن المكتين على رجائي حديثك أن أرى منه خروجا بما خبرتنا من قول قس من الرهبان أكره أن يعوجا بأن محمدا سيسود فينا ويقسم من يكون له حجيجا. In which he basically says that you have informed me regarding certain things and it seems as if this is the final Nabi. But this constant fikr, this constant worries, constant yearning is really getting hard to bear now. And where is this time when I actually see the advent of this particular Nabi? And when will this opportunity come when I'll be able to actually enter and accept his call of Nubuwwah? So he was in yearning for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And although Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself now hadn't yet claimed prophethood, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam got the wahi and the revelation, and he was taken aback by this. He knew that he was a Nabi, and he has been given this great status by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself hadn't started to call people to Islam. He hadn't started to give da'wah yet. He was just trying to come to terms with the whole actual scenario which had just taken place and the whole experience. So he wasn't inviting anybody, he wasn't calling anybody at this moment in time. But Waraqa knew that definitely this person is the final Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is why after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says further in the hadith that Waraqa says that Ya laytani fiha jadha'a, that if only I was still young and strong, and I could be with you in the vigor of my youth. He says this. And he says that laytani akunu hayya idh yukhrijuka qawmuk, that if only I am alive when your people will drive you out from this land of yours. And it says that وَإِن يُدْرِكْنِي يَوْمُكَ, that if this day comes and I am alive, then أَنْصُرْكُ نَصًّا مُؤَزَّرًا, I will most vigorously and tirelessly assist you and help you. And a few days passed, a short while passed, and Waraqa passed away. Thereafter Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say later on, Sayyidah Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha states that لا تسبوا ورقة. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say that don't speak ill of Waraqa. فإني رأيت له جنة أو جنتين. I have seen for him a paradise or even two paradise. Two gardens I have seen. In another narration by Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha asks Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam regarding Waraqa, that, oh Rasulullah, Waraqa passed away before you started to give dawah, before you actually called anybody. So he didn't actually accept Islam on your hands. So what is his state? So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that قَدْ رَأَيْتُهُ, indeed I have seen him. I have seen him in a dream. فَرَأَيْتُ عَلَيْهِ ثِيَابًا بِيضًا, and I saw that he was wearing white clothing. He was covered from head, from the whole body was covered in pure white clothing. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, فَأَحْسِبُهُ لَوْ كَانَ مِنْ أَهْلِ النَّارِ لَمْ يَكُنْ عَلَيْهِ ثِيَابٌ بِيضٌ. He says that if he was from the people of the fire of Jahannam, then indeed he wouldn't be wearing white clothing. His wearing white clothing is an indication that he is from the people of Jannah. And in another narration mentioned by in the Musnad of Abu Ya'la rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that أَبْصَرْتُهُ فِي بُطْنَانِ الْجَنَّةِ, I saw him in the center of Jannah, in the main square of Jannah. وَعَلَيْهِ السُّنْدُسِ, and he was wearing nice silk clothing. He was wearing silk clothing. So he was one who accepted, he was on the correct deen of the time, and he accepted the final Nabi. But obviously you wouldn't classify him as a Muslim as such in terms of from our ummah, because he didn't, as I said, accept Islam on the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as such. But nevertheless, one thing which also, one final thing which I'd like to mention, two things actually. One thing which he says is that Ya laytani fihi jaza', if only I was strong, healthy, young at that time, إِذْ أَخْرَجَكَ قَوْمُكَ, ya إِذْ يُخْرِجُكَ قَوْمُكَ, when your people drive you out. When your people drive you out from this land. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taken aback. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually said and questioned that our mukhrijiyun, my people, will drive me out from Makkah. How is that even possible? They love me, they respect me, they honor me. They will drive me out. So what does he say? Na'am. He replied, yes, definitely. لَمْ يَأْتِ رَجُلٌ قَدْتُ بِمِثْلِ مَا جِئْتَ بِهِ إِلَّا عُودِيَ. He says, never before has somebody come with a message that you have brought, except that he was labeled as the enemy of the state. Enemy of the state, and he will be driven out from the land. This has happened previously as well. And if you look at the Quran Kareem, then we notice this as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the previous nations, how they would deal with their prophets, how they would engage and converse with their prophets, and the manner in which they would threaten their prophets as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions regarding Lut alayhi salatu wasalam, فَمَا كَانَ جَوَابَ قَوْمِهِ إِلَّا أَنْ قَالُوا أَخْرِجُوا آلَ لُوطٍ مِّنْ قَرْيَتِكُمْ إِنَّهُمْ أُنَاسٌ يَتَطَهَّرُونَ. That the people, Lut alayhi salam's people, his nation, when Lut alayhi salatu wasalam invited them, called them, told them that come accept the deen, this is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, leave the sins that you are carrying out, the evil that you are carrying out. What did they say? فَمَا كَانَ جَوَابَ قَوْمِهِ. Their response was nothing except that, let's drive Lut alayhi salatu wasalam out of our lands. He's an enemy of the state. He's not willing to integrate within our society. Our morals, our ethics, he's too orthodox, he's too backwards. No, we cannot accept what he is saying. And he said, drive him out. If you look at Shu'aib alayhi salatu wassalam, قال الملأ الذين استكبروا من قومه لنخرجنك يا شعيب. The people, the leaders of the nation of Shu'aib alayhi salatu wassalam, what did he say? لنخرجنك يا شعيب أو لتعودن في ملتنا. He says that we will drive you out. We will drive you out and those people that believe in you. لنخرجنك يا شعيب والذين آمنوا معك. Or either that, or you have to accept the norms of our society. You have to accept the norms of our society, otherwise we'll drive you out. We'll drive you out, we'll boycott you, we'll do this, we'll do that. We'll put sanctions upon you. We'll freeze your assets. We'll put international sanctions upon you. We'll stop international trade. We'll put curfews upon you. You have to accept what we say. You have to accept what we do. So Shu'aib alayhi salatu wasalam was told that, look, either you be one of us, لَوْ تَتَعُودُنَّ فِي مِلَّتِنَا, you accept what you saw in our own society, otherwise leave. You're not welcome here. Go out. Leave. So this is something which has happened previously, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks on a general basis that وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لِرُسُلِهِمْ لَنُخْرِجَنَّكُم مِّنْ أَرْضِنَا. That all the people who disbelieve would say this to their prophets. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. The people who disbelieve said this لِرُسُلِهِمْ, to their prophets. لَنُخْرِجَنَّكُم مِّنْ أَرْضِنَا أَوْ لَتَعُودُنَّ فِي مِلَّتِنَا. But what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say after that? فَأَوْحَى إِلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ لَنُهْلِكَنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ. These people who are trying to drive you out, they are zalim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we sent down a revelation to our prophets that don't worry, we will destroy these people. Your word will always get the upper hand. No harm will come to you or the call which you are inviting others towards. No, you will always have the upper hand. لَنُهْلِكَنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ. So this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told, that this is going to happen. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taken aback, and he didn't expect something like this. This is not what he was expecting to hear. But it was a word which now was there in the back of his mind, so he knew that yes, this may happen now down the line. So mentally now, he was expecting that, okay, this is not going to be an easy ride. This is not going to be that I'm just going to go and people will just accept me, whatever I will say. So nevertheless, this is the beginning of the wahi. Thereafter, the narration continues, and Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu ta'ala says, ثُمَّ فَتَرَ الْوَحْيِ. Then wahi ceased, wahi stopped. Wahi didn't come to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For how long? For majority of the ulama, they say possibly around 6 months or so. Wahi didn't come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some even have gone to the extent of saying 2.5 to 3 years as well. But some ulama say that it probably wasn't that long. It was probably around 6 months, where no wahi would come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because this entire episode and incident which took place was a very extraordinary event in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, as we've already understood and learned and heard, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam initially was taken aback, and he was quite worried and concerned, and he was quite disturbed that what's going to happen, what is this, what is my responsibility, what do I need to do? So the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was basically given time to think about this. Otherwise, if this would have continued one after the other, then it would have been a little bit too much for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to take. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't receive any wahi, so that he can comprehend and contemplate and think regarding the entire episode that just took place. And it's mentioned in certain narration that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be so much disturbed that sometimes he would feel that he goes on top of the mountain and he would like to jump off the mountain. That is how much Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was overwhelmed by the situation. So the wahi stopped. That was one reason. Another reason was that it created that zeal and that shock within Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the angel came. When is he going to come again? When can I see him again? What is he going to say to me this time? When is he going to come? What is he going to bring? So that zeal, that enthusiasm, and that bit of yearning for the wahi and revelation, and that yearning that this was Allah speaking to me, the Creator speaking to me. When will I get this opportunity again? And that was one of the reasons as well that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was getting a little bit disturbed as well, that when is it going to come? So the wahi didn't come for 6 months. But does that mean that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't receive anything during those days? So the ulama say that no, wahi in this sense is the verses of the Quran didn't come. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would at times see Jibreel. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would at times see Jibreel, especially when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be at his lowest. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would feel that no, I don't know what's going on, I can't take it anymore, at that time Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would hear somebody saying, Ya Muhammad, innaka Rasulullahi haqqa. Oh Muhammad, don't worry, you are indeed without a doubt the Prophet of Allah. And just those words would give so much comfort and solace to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that anxiety and that state of confusion would completely just disperse. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would feel at ease. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would come down. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would then return back homeward. And then it so happened that once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was returning back from the cave of Hira, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard a voice. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked around, and then he heard that it was coming from above. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that فَرَفَعْتُ بَصَرِي, I looked up, فَإِذَا الْمَلَكُ الَّذِي جَاءَنِي بِحِرَانٍ جَالِسٌ عَلَى كُرْسِيٍّ بَيْنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. He says that I looked up, and as soon as I looked up, then what did I see? I saw that very angel which brought the very first revelation, meaning Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam, sitting on a throne in the middle of the sky and the earth. And he says, I saw this, and again, فَرُعِبْتُ مِنْهُ, I was taken aback, I got scared, and I quickly rushed home. فَرَجَعْتُ, I came home, and I said to Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala, zammiluni, please cover me in a blanket, cover me in a blanket. And thereafter, whilst I was in that state at home, then the second verses of the Quran came, Ya ayyuhal muddathir, قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ. That, O you who is wrapped in a blanket. Ya ayyuhal muddaththir. O my beloved who is wrapped up in a blanket. Qum, stand up now, stand up. Qum fa'andir, and warn the people. Stand up, qum fa'andir, wa rabbaka fakabbir, wa thiyabaka fatahhir. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam states, thumma fatar al-wahy. After that, wahi didn't stop. After that, constantly throughout the 23 years of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wahi would come one after the other. Yes, there was a certain time when it was delayed for a certain time. Inshallah, we may discuss that later on. But nevertheless, constantly wahi would come and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would receive the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then inshallah we shall continue next week regarding now the actual da'wah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which starts after this now. So after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam received these verses, inshallah we'll discuss these particular verses as well. And then after that, inshallah, the da'wah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commences, where he starts to give da'wah and invite people towards Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to understand the greatness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the beauty of this deen which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with, and allow us to bring within our lives the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سلام على عباده الذين اصطفى، سلام على المرسلين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وانزله المقعد المقرب عند اللهم رب هذه الدعوة القائمة والصلاة النافعة صل على محمد وارض عني رضا لا تسخط بعده أبدا. اللهم صل على محمد عبده ورسوله وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وارحم محمد وآل محمد كما صليت وباركت ورحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وأزواجه وذريته كما صليت على إبراهيم كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أزواجه وذريته كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى أزواجه وذريته كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد النبي وأزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وذريته وأهل بيته كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما ترحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما ترحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم تحنن على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما تحننت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم سلم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما سلمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما وبارك وسلم على محمد وعلى آل محمد وارحم محمد وعلى محمد كما صليت وباركت وترحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعبده ورسوله كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وبارك على محمد النبي الأمي كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد عبده ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد صلاة تكون لك رضا ولو جزاء ولحقه أداء وعاطه الوسيلة والفضيلة والمقام المحمود الذي وعدت وجزينا ما هو أهله وجزي أفضل ما جازيت النبي عن قوم ورسول عن أمتي وصل على جميع إخوانه من النبيين والصالحين يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم
إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل علينا معهم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى أهل بيته كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك علينا معهم. صلوات الله وصلوات المؤمنين على محمد النبي الأمي. اللهم اجعل صلواتك ورحمتك وبركاتك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما جعلت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وصلى الله على النبي الأمي. التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. التحيات الطيبات صلوات الله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد عبد رسوله. التحيات لله الطيبات صلوات الله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمد عبد رسوله. التحيات وبركاته صلوات الطيبات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد عبد رسوله. بسم الله بالله. التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله. أسأل الله الجنة وأعوذ بالله من النار. التحيات لله الزاكيات لله طيبات صلوات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله. بسم الله بالله. خير اسماء التحيات طيبات صلوات لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله. أرسل بالحق مشيئة لا ريب فيها. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. اللهم اغفر لي واهدني. التحيات الطيبات والصلوات الملك لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله. التحيات لله الصلوات لله الزاكيات لله. والسلام على النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. شهدت أن لا إله إلا الله. شهدت أن محمد رسول الله. التحيات الطيبات والصلوات الزاكيات لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمد عبده ورسوله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. التحيات الطيبات الصلوات الزاكيات لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد عبد الله ورسوله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. التحيات الصلوات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. التحيات لله الصلوات الطيبات. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله. التحيات وبركاته صلوات الطيبات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. بسم الله والسلام على رسول الله. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. يا بسلي وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. سبحانك الله وبحمدك.